We're back to one of the traditional matchups. The Farseer versus the Lord General. Why is this traditional? Well, generally, historically, the Farseer was considered the best option against the Imperial Guard, and the Lord General was considered the best option against the Eldar. Now, I think it's a little bit more contentious on the Eldar side, because the Warlock and the Warp Spider Exarch both have pretty good tools against IG. The Warp Spider Exarch gives you more range DPS early on. Certainly, amassing as much range DPS as possible is generally a good tool against the IG to help counter the Sentinel early on. When you get to tier 2 with the Warp Spider Exarch, it's pretty glorious actually, because you get the Entangling Web, and that pretty hard counters the Ogrins, because you just do Entangling Web into a Plasma Grenade from your Guardians, and normally you get 3 Guardians against IG, so you've got plenty of Plasma Grenades to go around. And it kills the Ogrins. 2 Plasma Grenades landing perfectly on the Ogrins wipes them instantly, so yeah, pretty strong. You've got Crack Shot to boost the range and damage of your Shuriken, but of course the Farseer can just do that by default with Guide. The Farseer has really good scaling because she has the Spirit Stones. That actually helps the Banshees maintain relevance, and the Banshees actually, I've always argued, are a good choice against the Lord General because they can actually 1v1 him very easily, which Guardians really struggle with. And that's part of the reason why the Lord General is really good in this matchup. He can trade super cost effectively against the Guardians in a way that Guardsmen really struggle with, and often even the Sentinel can struggle with because it just gets overwhelmed. But actually choosing to go Banshees can counter that, and you see right there how the Banshees so easily forced off the Lord General, which is something that you definitely would have been able to do just relying on your Guardians. The Farseer also has a lot of utility with the Farsight ability. That can counter a lot of Stormtrooper plays in tier 2. The Psychic Storm ability is busted because it will instantly force off Stormtroopers, Cadishans, or Guardsmen if you land it on them once they're suppressed, because then they can't dodge it. It's kind of mental. I think it's completely broken, but there you go. And not only does that actually give you a really powerful ability, but it also gives you a... well, you no longer need to concern yourself about energy economy once you've got that armor as well, so it's kind of nuts. Bulbus here is doing rather well though. He's stalling because Dingus is committing super hard to this push into the base. He needs to be really careful with his Sentinel that we don't get a guided Guardian here and they manage to take it out with the extra range. See, the whole time he's been capping the map with the Guardsmen here. Guardsmen with only 6 models, no Sergeant. In fact, that's the case for both of them. I love how this meta is spreading everywhere. So this is a intermediate game here. Not a low-level game, not a super high-level game. So I'm glad to see, though, that it's spreading. What's going on here? Have we got... what happened to their energy? Are the Banshees actually going to wipe these Cadishans right now? Oh my god, they are! Oh, they totally could have! He retreated them, like, half a second too early. They were about to get that swing and wipe the squad. Oh, very lucky there for Mr. Bulbus. I don't know what happened to the Cadishans. It looked like they were about to use an ability because their energy went down and then nothing happened. I don't know if it was... I don't know. Whatever. Cancelled abilities are a thing. So yeah, Cadishans are going to be the choice here. Pretty typical. Yeah, okay. He were going for the explosive shot and it bugged and didn't do anything. That's pretty sad. Generally you want to be using that before you get into melee though, to be honest. A little bit of sloppy play there, breaking the cover on his own side, which his Lord General could have quite enjoyed using. Only getting the stomp now, so he's going to be a little bit late. See, otherwise he could have stomped this thing backwards into the Lord General's fire and potentially forced it off. He's going to struggle now because there is the second Shuriken coming up. He's going to go for the stomp anyway, but... well, I don't know if that Shuriken even had to retreat, really. Could have just stayed there and set up. The Lord General wouldn't force it off quick enough, and then the Sentinel would have died. Oh well. But yeah, Cadishans, kind of a no-brainer choice when you play the Lord General. You get the Medical Sergeant, and they basically have double health. The synergy is just unreal. And you generally need the anti-melee as well, given that, you know, you're fighting Hanley Banshees here. Cadishan Devils are kind of a no-brainer. Now, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see some Las turrets get deployed. That was some gens getting dropped here. Given he's fighting double shurikens as well, I also would like to see some artillery spotters purchased. You are going to need to go for a relatively heavy tier 1 here to stay impactful. I think that's a good thing, because they'll not really come into their own in this matchup in tier 2. Ooh, this is weird. Armor of Fortune, you do not see this very often. Because it's taking up that slot for the Psychic Storm in tier 2. Oh, that's a beautiful ID. Rude indeed, but the shurikens are very problematic here. There isn't really anything to deal with them. Old Reliable goes in and will disrupt this shuriken for a while, but it's in cover anyway, and there's no follow-up, so all it needs to do is reset up. A little bit of sloppy positioning here though on the Guardians from Dingus. Bled quite a lot on them. Didn't really need to. Should have had them further back, not taking so much fire from the Sentinel. I believe the Guardsman even got a bit of firepower going there. These Guardians probably just want to go off and start capping these wreck points. This wreck point being in favour of Bulbus is not great. It's been in favour of him for a very long time. I don't really agree with Bulbus pushing forward with the Sentinel there. There's no point because you can't get rid of the rear shuriken. So yeah, just going to reset up once again. Guardians not in cover. Bleeding a model to the lasguns there of the Guardsman. Lord General meanwhile just going to be bashing the side. Dingus for some reason has not replaced his... Well, there's no need to use the term replace. He hasn't bought his third generator. And I don't know why he's pushing up here just with Banshees and the Farseer either. Yeah, the Stomp will come off cooldown. And that's going to be a lot of bleed onto the Banshees. Kadishan Devils are now arriving on the field. They didn't shoot their shotguns earlier, which would have actually... I mean, shit, that would have probably killed another 2 Banshee models. Maybe we got the wipe on retreat with the Old Reliable. But Bulbus not opting for any more units in tier 1, he's just going to go straight for tier 2. Dingus taking his time to build the gens, and it's going to keep him quite far behind on the tech race. He should already be going tier 2 himself. So this is not good. Dingus needs to get a move on. These are very slow. Well, his use of these units is very slow. He needs to cap this damn wreck point, and he needed to rotate these shurikens a lot earlier. I do question the lack of battle equipment as well in the Guardians. The 33% HP boost is generally worth it in and of itself. But right now, really, Dingus has the bigger army, and he is the one that's having his gen farm attacked. Now, he does get a really nice defense there. It was quite an epic fail from Bulbus due to the elevation. The Old Reliable overshot, so you need to aim up like here to knock back the shuriken. Could have just used a smoke grenade instead before the suppression kicked in, and then could have shot it to death, potentially flanking with a Sentinel or something. You also had the option for the last turret, so another nice IED there. Banshees are bleeding quite a bit. Rude indeed. I'm not sure if he actually managed to snag some of the Guardians there with that IED too. That was nice, a lot of value. Bulbus knows that he is ahead in tech, so he's going to be rushing the Chimera, which is a very good play. He knows that he's ahead in tech because the Banshees have got an upgrade. The Farseer has purchased the Fortune. We're facing 2 tier 1.5 units from Dingus. So that is a lot of power expenditure relative to what he got, which is purely the Stomp and the Kadishan Devils themselves. I mean, he didn't even get the Sarge on the Lord General, which seems odd. Honestly, it's kind of a no-brainer. Because if you don't know, it increases the health of the Stormtroopers and the General himself as well. Not just the squad, but having the Sergeant in the squad increases the health of the Lord General and his Stormtroopers by 15% as well, as giving you more HP because the Sergeant himself has HP. So, it makes your Lord General bleed less. It makes him way more efficient in combat. Not to mention the synergy with Kadishans is kind of insane. So immediately going for a Kadishan Sergeant. He's got that big spooky Melter Bomb. Increases their melee skill to 75 as well, so the Banshees can't be specially near them. Dingus is going to be going to tier 2 himself. He's in tier 2 now. Queued up a Banshee Exarch. Bulbus is quite far ahead in tech, but I guess he's waiting to see what Dingus's reaction to the Chimera is going to be. But you kind of know what it's going to be. He's already got 2 shurikens anyway. He just gets one of them with a Bright Lance, and then he buys his Wraithguard, as per usual, against IG. Now, if he had the aspect of strength on the Banshees, he could diversify his options a little bit and go for the Warp Spiders, because then you have the Haywire to snare, and the Banshees can follow up and do a bit of damage along with the Bright Lance probably is sufficient. Really nice IED here, beautifully positioned. Pop! And oh ho ho! Misses the old reliable. That should have been a wipe on the squad. Dingus should have seen that coming from a mile off. I was literally thinking about finishing what I was saying in that last set of commentary and talking about how I really hope there's an IED here. And there was. Kudos to Bulbus. That was beautiful. Bulbus. It was beautiful. I mean, Dingus has lost so much from the Banshees this game, eating IEDs. It's not been worth it. It is kind of a bad map for the Banshees because there's not a lot of line of sight blocks. It's a very open map. They kind of just get shot up. I think you can still make them work against the Lord General, but yeah, I don't know. Dingus certainly hasn't. He's got his Bright Lance though, kind of awkwardly positioned. Gonna have to reset up. Banshee's coming back out on the field. I don't agree with going for aspect of fleetness. Where's the guide? Farseer's capping the natural VP, and he kills the Chimera regardless! No guide needed. Massive micro error there from Bulbus. Now the Banshees can get in and use their Scream. Gonna force off both of these Guardsman squads. If they had their Commissar, they'd be able to remain in play by retreating out and then executing elsewhere on the map, but no Commissar for them, so they're gonna have to go all the way back to the base, and now the Banshees are getting on the Lord General. Kill both of his Stormtroopers. That's 50 requisition down. It's a good amount of bleed to be inflicting on the guard. That said, Bulbus's economy is amazing right now. I don't really know what the plan is. His... Okay, I think Bulbus is throwing now. He should have got these units out ages ago. This is where he's going wrong. Because so far, Bulbus has been playing beautifully. Until this point. Oh, nice grenade. Kind of surprised that didn't do more damage, to be honest. So Bulbus, it feels, has really been dominating this game, even though he's behind on VPs. He was so far ahead on tech. But I don't know why he kind of took his foot off the gas here. No spotters in tier 2, so he's really struggling against these shurikens. He gets his Assault Kit Stormtroopers out now, but super late. And look at all of these units just getting shut down by the Banshees here. This is the power of the Banshees though in tier 2, they're great. They get that 50% damage resistance whilst they're using fleet against range attacks, and that makes them so much more tanky than they are in tier 1. Of course, Kadishan Devils should have been there. I don't know what they were doing. Just chilling in base. Bit weird really from Bulbus. Bulbus should probably just go tier 3 right now, I'm going to be honest with you. No, this is not a good idea going for Stormtroopers. He's got such a power float. Dingus is quite slow to do the Gem Bash though. The Shuriken should have already been attacking here. But here comes some Wraithguard. That's going to be his choice. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Now, Wraithguard should prioritize the Kadishan Devils. The Kadishan Devils stay immobile. They're going to get wrecked by the Wraithguard. As you can see, 3 shots and nearly wipes the squad. Plasma Grenade there, nearly killing their own Banshees. Lord General should definitely be forcing melee on the Wraithguard now that they're isolated. What is the Shuriken doing? Yeah, Wraithguard pushed up a little bit too forward. They should have been here in the uncrushable cover, covered by the Shuriken, so that the Lord General couldn't tie them up. And that would have been impregnable. But he's pushing them off anyway. Bulbus did go for the double Stormtroopers. Such a weird play. He had the power to go tier 3. Should have just gone tier 3. And then he could use the Lord General's Global to call in Ilium and Russ. That would have been beautiful. I wonder if we'll see a Missile Launcher Sentinel. It could be good against these double setup teams as well. Not really sure why the Lord General went for the Melter Guns as well. I feel like the range boost from the Sniper Rifle is way better than the cooldown reduction boost that you get from that ability. And honestly, the Sniper Rifle itself isn't even a bad weapon. It's a pretty good weapon. The Melter Guns are awkward because they're short range. You don't really want the short range on the Lord General. I don't really know what Dingus was doing there. Kept his Shuriken in way too long, but it actually worked out for him because I believe the Banshees are going to get the wipe on the Kadishan Devils here. They're trying to finish it off with a melee charge. I think they've already used Fleetness. Now they're not going to get it. Damn. That's quite unlucky. So he loses his Shuriken. Probably wants to replace that. He needs that to really allow the Wraithguard to work. That's how Wraithguard do work. You suppress the enemy first, and then they can't easily dodge you while suppressed. And then it also helps because the Shuriken stops melee units just walking up and tying up the Wraithguard in melee. So yeah, hooray, Dingus has got the Gem Bash, but it really doesn't matter because Bulbus at this point has 255 power. And there's been a little game of cat and mouse going on in the central area. A little bit of missed micro here from Dingus, not capping the point with his Bright Lance. But yeah, the Lord General's just going to run into melee here with the Wraithguard, and it's going to be relatively easy for this horde of Imperial Guardsmen to force them off. Which they will. Dingus is lelling for some reason. I'm not sure why he's lelling. And I'm not sure why the Bright Lance was setting up either. Could have been a grenade. A wipe on it, to be honest. Shame on Bulbus for not seeing the opportunity. So Dingus running some crazy tactics here with the Webway Gates. Going to cap the natural power there of Bulbus, but I'm not sure how much it matters. Dingus, surprisingly, is going to be the first one to tier 3, which in this matchup is very odd. Typically, you'd see the Eldar going for a Wraith Lord. Wow, going to get the Sentinel there. Beautiful. Beautiful plasma grenade there. No, you're not firing at the Sentinel. Okay, got it. Retreat grenades, though. I think he's going to be too late. Yeah, it's too late. Yeah, I didn't do it. This is kind of crazy. They're just fighting all over the place now, not really taking any army versus army fights, just skirmishing. Oh, what is he doing with these Guardians, man? Very lucky that Bulbus messed up his micro there. Again, they should have died because he ran through the retreat path of 2 grenade units. Bulbus, I guess, not really adept at his retreat grenades. He is an IG player after all. It's more an Eldar and Space Marine thing with the retreat grenades, but yeah, Stormtroopers can do it. Against a better player, that definitely would have been a wipe squad for sure. I wonder if these Guardsmen are going to execute here and stay in play. They do, and that is causing those Banshees some problems. Holy shit, he didn't even realise. Dingus! The hell are you looking at? Probably looking at his Farseer or something. Just assumed they'd already retreated so he didn't have to worry about them, but you've got to be careful when there's a Commissar and those Guardsmen. Commissar says no. And I like this. Forcing melee here with the Guardsman. The Commissar himself actually does pretty good melee damage. It's like the damage of a Slugger Boy. So I will easily dispatch the Wraithguard 1v1. But my god. Fire Prism against a big high model squad does a lot of damage. This Fire Prism is going to be beautiful for controlling these double assault kit Stormtroopers. He's going to be kicking himself his Bulbus that he went for the double assault kit and didn't keep a melter potential around. That would be very good because there's no rangers. If you can infiltrate behind a Fire Prism, get your melter bomb off. It's very powerful. I'm not sure what was happening there with Dingus's Guardians standing outside the front of the energy shield. It's a bit weird. Sure. Kadashan's just going to force melee. Beautiful thing about that Kadashan Sergeant melter is it's got fire on the move, unlike the shotguns of the Kadashan. So very nice when you're trying to force melee on people. But ultimately, there's not really any AV here. Of course, you do have that melter gun, but it's not going to be very effective when he's getting chain knocked back by a Fire Prism. Again, you've got melter guns on the Lord General, but same thing, short range, way shorter range than a Fire Prism. And you can't shoot if you're on your ass. We've got the heavy weapons team rotating down now, presumably going to grab a las cannon on that. It's actually pretty decent against the Fire Prism because it's got equal range to it, but unlike the other setup team options that other races have, you can get the shield on the IG heavy weapons team and that prevents it from being knocked back. Which then means you can counter the Fire Prism pretty well. But he doesn't have the shield yet, so the Fire Prism can just focus the las cannon and do this. And keep it knocked over. That said, if he's focusing on the heavy weapons team, whilst the Fire Prism itself can't die... Oh my god, Dingus. It means that the double assault kit Stormtroopers are free to fire, and so they do. And Fortune Armor or not, That's going to kill the Farseer relatively quickly. So the Autark doing a bit of spotting here for the Fire Prism. Probably wants to get back now and get on the point. Oh, the Bright Lance can do that. Okay, fair enough. Fire Prism putting in some really good work right now. There's no mobile AV. Killing the Sentinel is huge. Sentinel otherwise can 1v1 a Fire Prism quite easily. Yeah, nice bleed. A little bit of XP there for the Autark. Map control looking significantly better for Dingus right now. I wonder if Bulbus can actually do this. I mean, it's looking bad for him right now. The mistake was staying in tier 2. Going for double Stormtroopers here was bonkers. And the first Stormtrooper, he could have got that thing out like a solid 5 minutes earlier. I don't know why he waited so long. Initially, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I said he's probably waiting to see what Dingus gets as a counter. But man, he just didn't buy anything for ages. I think Dingus right now should be replacing his lost Shuriken. A Shuriken in the mid would be beautiful. The Shuriken can control the Stormtroopers. It just supports the Wraithguard, it's cheap. And the Fire Prism still has the freedom to keep attacking the Heavy Weapons team. Now, I don't know if the Heavy Weapons team has the shield. Let's see. I don't think it says in the UI. Yeah, he does have the shield. So that's going to be more problematic now. But you can attack ground with the Fire Prism anyway and prevent the decap. There's nothing that's knockback immune. You could get the armor of the Lord General to make your Stormtroopers knockback immune. But Dingus isn't attacking ground anyway. Oh, he's got Time Field now, though. One of the most overpowered war gears in the entire game. Well, the war gear is the Armor of Assyrian, which gives you 1 HP per second regen, 200 extra HP, but it gives you the Time Field ability. And no unit in that area can attack except the Farseer herself, and they move slower. Against these big, high model, large squads, an ability like that is kind of insane. It's very hard for them to dodge it. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what Bulbus could possibly do at this point. He's behind on VPs too. Look at the red. Oh, if only he was in tier 3. God, he could nearly get 2 rocket runs. That's another thing to consider. He's not used any Creeping Basilisk barrages, so he could definitely use that. Dislodge things like the Guardian's weapons team. Not really that impactful though, because at this point Shurikens aren't in play. He doesn't even have any vehicles, so this thing doesn't really matter. But Dingus is kind of throwing. I mean, just let his Farseer die for really no reason at all there in melee to the Kadishan Devils. That's kind of odd. Fire Prism really wants to be focusing on the Stormtroopers and not the Lord General though. Still no retinue members for the Lord General. It's really strange. I don't get it. He's still firing at the Lord General with the Prism. Kill these guys, man. God, they're so low HP with 5 models right now. You probably wipe the damn squad. Oh, see? Nearly. Fucking hell. But the heavy weapons team's still there. Where's the Autark gone? Yeah, she left. She was continuing to chase the Lord General. And then found the Kadishan Devils, which is not ideal for her. Seer Council now out for the Farseer. Okay, we'll get the Seer Council to tie up the last cannon. The last cannon not firing at the Prism. A little bit of a misplay again from Bulbus there. Could have used the Hold Fire. Hoping for Dingus to walk forward with the Prism, which he did. But Bulbus throws in the towel. Yeah, I mean, there's not really too much you can do with these guys routing his entire army. He needed to go tier 3. That's where this went wrong. He needed to go tier 3 for sure. Because the tier 1 was so dominant from him. He was so far ahead in tech. But then he just threw it in tier 2 massively. He lost the Chimera with very little gain. And then he he didn't build anything for ages after that. I guess he was so flabbergasted. He's like, oh, the Chimera Rush didn't end the game. What do I do now? Lose, apparently. But there you go, folks. An intermediate 1v1 featuring some Eldar and Imperial Guard. You don't see that one too often these days, so I hope you did appreciate it. I certainly did. Thanks for the submission, Mr. Dingus. I think it was Dingus that submitted it. Anyway, thanks, folks. That's all from your boy Torpid this time. I am signing out.